Hi, in this devlog I'm going to add my first proper enemy to my sci-fi themed FPS roguelike game. The cubes from before don't really count, but before I do any of that, I'm going to work on the first proper weapon, since I didn't make the weapon models I'm currently using, and plus they don't really fit the sci-fi theme. I'm going for something a bit more futuristic. The only problem is, I've only done about 3 hours of 3D modelling in Blender before. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to figure out how to edit the starting cube, but after watching a few tutorials I was able to create this gun, which is meant to be some kind of heavy rifle. It's nothing special, but it'll do for now. And of course, I ran into many errors when implementing the weapon in Unity, but I eventually managed to fix all of them except for the fact that the shooting animation wasn't working. I couldn't figure out how to fix it, so I decided to leave it as a problem for the future. I added a neon glow effect to the weapon in Blender, then realised that I couldn't easily transfer the effect to Unity, so I then had to completely redo the neon effect in Unity. To do this, I upgraded my project to the universal render pipeline, which basically improves how the graphics are rendered, and after a few frustrating hours, I got it to work. Now, it's finally time to start making the enemy. The first thing I did was brainstorm 10 ideas for enemies, and then I picked 3 of them to actually add to the game. Out of the 3, I decided to make the most basic enemy first, which is currently called the Grunt. Let me know in the comments if you have any better ideas for the enemy name. I then went back into Blender again to model the enemy, and after a bit I ended up with something I was happy with. I then brought it into Unity and applied the neon glow effect from before. When actually coding the AI for the enemy, I ran into many errors, such as the enemy clipping through walls, being visible through walls, which look really weird, and just being invisible. I did get it working, and it works like this. The enemy exists in 4 different states: patrolling, chasing, attacking, and retreating. If the player is not within sight range of the enemy, it will patrol randomly. When the player enters sight range, the enemy will start chasing the player until the player is within attack range, where the enemy will start shooting. If the player gets too close, you can sort of stand in between the 2 guns and not get hit by the bullet, so I made the enemy retreat to a random position if the player is within retreat range. I'm using Unity's nav mesh system, which is fairly easy to use and allows the enemies to move to certain locations in a level. The only problem I have is that occasionally the enemy will get stuck for some reason, even though it should be able to move. I have no idea why this happens, but I'm just going to ignore it and hope for the best. I've also done a few minor improvements to my code, such as the spawning code to make it much shorter. In the next devlog, I think I'm going to try and release some kind of demo just so that you can try my game if you want, but obviously bear in mind that it's nowhere near done. Comment if you have anything to say about my game, and thanks for watching.